Bioshock Infinite was released in 2013, a year which in my opinion was a golden year of gaming. Games like The Last of Us, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, GTA 5, I mean the list goes on and on. So how did Bioshock Infinite stand out from a crowd of games such as these, and stamp its claim as one of the best games of its time, and on many people's top 100 list of all-time video games? Whenever I talk about Bioshock Infinite with my friends or sister, the one thing that keeps coming up in conversation is the story. And I always say, yes, this game has an amazing art style. Yes, the music is fantastic and fits it perfectly. And yes, the gameplay is engaging and fun, but this game for me is all about the story. A game, as we have seen in recent times, can have all three of those things, but still fall flat on its face if the story isn't there to back it up. Bioshock Infinite, in my opinion, is one of those games where if the graphics, sound and gameplay were not as good as they were, the story alone would be able to carry it. Thankfully, they did not miss on these 3 pointers, and when combined, almost like the Infinity Gauntlet, they created one of the best video games ever made. The story begins with probably one of the most famous quotes in video gaming history.
Booker, are you afraid of God?
No. But I'm afraid of you.
That starting line has cemented itself in video gaming history. What a way to start a game, and sets the tone for what one of the main themes of this game will be: religion. To enter the city of Columbia, you must enter the lighthouse, where when you get to the top you get blasted up to the city in the clouds. Once you land, you must travel through a church, get baptized, and then finally you enter the city. This whole introduction scene is one of the best introductions to a game ever. Todd Howard, the director of Bethesda and creators of the Elder Scrolls games, describes it best. In a YouTube video before the release of Starfield, he says Bethesda have always had that step out moment into the world.
You always have that step out moment into the world, so to say.
In Skyrim, that happens when you leave the cave for the first time, and you're welcomed by this massive world. In Bioshock, this happens when you take off from the lighthouse and you enter the city of Columbia. This step out moment is truly amazing, and done even better by the music and look of the city. As you initially walk around, you get the impression that the city is a happy place, with the people enjoying themselves. But for those who played this game before, know that it doesn't take long to descend into chaos, with the true city showing its colours. The first sign of this is when you arrive at the fair. After exploring, you eventually come to a raffle, where you choose a ball number 77, the winning ball, and the host brings out a black and white couple, with the winner of the raffle able to throw the ball first at them. The city shows you there what it really is. As the story progresses, more and more of these social issues show up, with Daisy Fitzroy and the Revolution fighting back against injustice, and the fight between the upper and lower classes. The game really makes you think about these issues, and whether when helping the revolution you don't feel the pride that in some ways you should do, fighting against an injustice, but doing it through death and destruction. The one scene when you are heading to Father Comstock's building, you walk through the town where people are panicking, the Vox Populi are coming, and people need to evacuate. The ordinary person is trying to put their luggage on the ship. People are crying with having to leave their homes behind. The game almost makes you feel sorry for them, but then I always think back to the start. When these people were in charge, they had no issues with putting the revolutionaries and people in their place, either through public humiliation, torture or death. They felt no sympathy, so why should they get any sympathy in return? The game makes you think of these social issues when playing the game, and it is what in my opinion makes this game great. It isn't just a simple game with a simple story. It's a thought-provoking story, which makes the player think about these issues and get an emotional response in return. Throughout the game there are loads of weapons you can pick up and upgrade, which I gotta say I was very happy about. You get your standard pistol, machine gun and shotgun, but they also had weapons like the carbine, which was my favourite. It had a one-shot headshot, which is fun to do. There's also the sniper, RPG, volley gun and a crank gun, which you can pick up after killing a motorised patriot. Now just these weapons alone make the gameplay fun and more interesting when in gunfights, but they took it a step further and decided to make Vox Populi variants for certain guns, like the shotgun called the Heater by the Vox Populi, the carbine called the Burst gun, the volley gun called the Hailfire, and the machine gun called the Repeater. Each Vox Populi variant had different advantages and disadvantages to the original guns, which again made it more fun in a later game when you encounter the Vox Populi. All weapons can be upgraded at least 4 times as well, and once upgraded they can be pretty powerful and again more fun to use. I know most games have an upgrade weapon system, but it is nice to be able to upgrade all your weapons, because then you can really customize what weapons you want to prioritize with the upgrades. Another cool weapon you can utilize is vigoes. These are tonics in the game, which when drunk gives the user some pretty cool abilities. Overall there are 8 vigours you can drink throughout the game. The first one you get is Possession Vigour, which allows you to, you guessed it, possess things. starting off with machines, but later people when upgraded. The other vigors in the game are Buck and Bronco, which temporarily levitates enemies, Charge, which causes Booker to ram into a target, Devil's Kiss, where you can throw fireballs, Murder of Crows to send a murder of crows onto a targeted enemy, Return to Sender, which creates a temporary shield, Shock Jockey, which shocks a target and stuns them, and finally Undertow, which throws all targets in front of the user back with a watery tendril. All of these once again make the gameplay more fun in gunfights. It adds something different than your traditional normal gunfights. You can keep changing between them and use them when a certain situation arises. Although I will say I mainly used the Possession Vigor, as when upgraded, possessing a powerful human draws a gunfight off you for a while in intense gunfights. The game also rewards exploration as well. If the player wanted to, they could just go from one quest objective to the next, without really exploring the world. But I think when you explore the world, it gives you more background on how the city of Columbia came to be, and adds to the world building, mainly done through kinetoscopes, which show little films of big events in Columbia's history. It is a cool thing the game added, and makes you want to find these to better understand the world. But even if you didn't do that, and just explored the city, there's plenty of loot you can find, like health, salt, and money to upgrade your weapons. And I will admit, I spent a lot of time just looting cupboards, barrels, and rubbish bins. This game is also a visually stunning game that has aged remarkably well for a game made in 2013. To still look like a game that could have been released today, 12 years later, is a massive achievement and a true testament to how well this game has been made. The game's art design, with its vibrant colours and details, creates an immersive atmosphere that draws the players into the world of Columbia. Even the character models and animations are also top notch, which just adds to the overall sense of realism and immersion. When I decided to make a video about this game, it was my 4th playthrough of Bioshock, and I have to say that I loved every minute of it. Even though I knew how it would end, it still felt fresh and almost like I was playing it again for the first time. And that is what makes this game so good. It's the ability to be able to replay it over and over again, without it becoming boring or repetitive. Very few games can do that, and an even smaller number of games like Bioshock, which has a linear story, are able to do it. And I believe that is down to the dedication the game developers put into this game when making it. This truly is one of the best games ever made, and I urge anyone who hasn't played it yet to download it and experience the amazing game that is Bioshock Infinite.